In this lesson, we're going to break down what prompt engineering actually means, why it matters, and how you can use clear, structured, and purposeful language to get the most out of your interactions with GPT. By the end of this session, you'll have a solid grasp of how to create better prompts. You'll understand how slight changes in your wording can lead to dramatically better responses. We'll explore different types of prompts and work through useful examples from personal, professional, and creative contexts. Let's begin by defining what prompt engineering is. Prompt engineering is the process of designing inputs to get high-quality, relevant, and useful responses from a language model like GPT. When you ask GPT something, that input, your question or instruction, is called a prompt. And how you phrase that prompt can affect everything about the model's output, from its tone and clarity to its depth and accuracy. Think of it like giving instructions to someone who's a highly skilled assistant, but who can also be very literal. If you're vague, they might take your request in a completely different direction than you intended. But if you're clear and precise, they're more likely to deliver what you actually want. Let's take a really simple example. If you type, "What are the benefits of exercise?" GPT will probably give you a general list explaining how exercise is good for your health. That's a basic prompt. It works, but it's broad. Now imagine you instead write, "Explain 5 evidence-based benefits of 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per day for adults over age 50. Suddenly, GPT has much more to work with. You've added clarity, specificity, and a clear scope. That's the essence of prompt engineering, learning how to structure your prompts so they guide the language model to produce the kind of output you really need. So, what are the goals of prompt engineering? First, to get relevant responses. Second, to increase the accuracy and usefulness of those responses. And third, to give you more control over how GPT behaves. Now that we've got a working definition, let's dig into the basic structure of an effective prompt. A good prompt usually includes 3 parts: context, instruction, and task. Let's break those down. First, context. This is background information that helps GPT understand the situation. Think of it like setting the scene. For example, if you're creating a prompt for a job interview question, your context might be, "You are a career coach preparing a candidate for an interview at a tech startup." Second, instruction. This tells GPT what kind of language or role it should use. For instance, you could say, "Act as a professional resume writer," or "Write in the style of a marketing expert." Third, the task. This is what you actually want GPT to do. Examples include list 5 suggestions, draft an email, summarize this article, or create a poetic description. Let's look at how this structure works in practice. Consider this unstructured prompt. "Tell me something." GPT might respond with a fun fact or a random piece of trivia. Now try this instead. "You are a high school teacher. Explain the importance of time management to a student who keeps missing assignments." Keep the tone encouraging and supportive. Notice how this version provides context, direction, and a clear task. The structured prompt will almost always result in a more thoughtful and targeted response. Now let's turn our focus to an essential part of prompt engineering: using clear and specific language. A vague prompt makes it hard for GPT to know what you want, which often leads to a reply that's either too general, off topic, or not useful. For example, the prompt, "Tell me about history," is incredibly broad. GPT might choose any time period, country, or theme. But if you ask, "Summarize the key events of the American Revolution in under 200 words," you've narrowed the scope and made the request more manageable. Specific prompts limit ambiguity. And generally, the more specific the prompt, the more relevant the response. But specificity doesn't just mean including more words. It means including the right words, clearly stating exactly what you want. Let's take another example. Imagine you're a small business owner preparing for a new product launch. You might be tempted to write, "Help me with marketing." That's quite open-ended. Instead, a prompt like, "Generate 3 social media post ideas to promote my new line of eco-friendly water bottles targeting young adults," gives GPT a much more specific runway. So how do you make your prompts clearer? Here are a few tips. 1. Define your goal. What are you actually trying to accomplish? That will shape your language. 2. Identify the audience. Are you writing for professionals, middle schoolers, first-time users? Mention that in your prompt. 3. Set boundaries. Do you want a short answer? A list? A formal summary? Make that clear. And 4. Provide examples when needed. Sometimes giving one ideal answer helps GPT know what type of response you'd like. Now let's look at some real-world examples of well-crafted prompts across different areas. We'll start with a personal example. Suppose you want help with meal planning. Instead of the vague, "What should I eat this week?" try this prompt. Create a 7-day vegetarian meal plan for a moderately active adult trying to reduce sodium intake. Include 3 meals per day plus snacks. You're giving GPT a clear persona, nutritional goals, and structure. That makes the response far more practical. Now a professional example. Let's say you need to write a meeting request email. A vague prompt might be, "Write a professional email." That's too broad. Here's a better one. Write a professional email to my supervisor requesting a 30-minute meeting next week to discuss progress on Project Alpha. Keep the tone formal but friendly. This gives GPT the who, the why, and the tone, making it easier for the model to hit the target. And finally, a creative example. Maybe you want help brainstorming story ideas. Instead of, "Tell me a story," you could try, "Write a short story about a robot discovering emotions after being abandoned in a forest." Give it a bittersweet ending. That adds genre, plot elements, emotional tone, and stylistic direction. So as you can see, thoughtful prompts improve results across all kinds of use cases. Let me pose a common question here. Can longer prompts become too complicated? That's a fair concern. In general, longer prompts aren't a problem if they're structured clearly. It's okay to include multiple parts: context, instruction, task, and even examples or constraints. But if a prompt rambles, contradicts itself, or leaves GPT confused about its role, the response might be weaker. Another question people often ask is, do I need to use technical terms or programming language to make a good prompt? And the answer is no. You can use simple, natural language. GPT understands conversational input. The goal isn't to sound robotic, it's to think deliberately about what you're asking. In other words, treat GPT like a smart but literal partner. Say what you want, how you want it, and who it's for. Let's revisit and summarize the key concepts so far. First, prompt engineering is about crafting your inputs carefully to get better responses from GPT. Second, effective prompts usually include context, instructions, and a defined task. That gives the model a clear structure to follow. Third, clarity and specificity are essential. Vague prompts get vague answers. Specific prompts create focused, relevant outputs. Fourth, using purposeful language, naming your goals, defining the audience, setting constraints, gives you more control over what you receive. And fifth, well-crafted prompts are useful across all areas of life, from writing emails and summarizing articles to generating meal plans or composing poetry. Let's close by thinking about the bigger picture. Prompt engineering isn't just a technical trick, it's a form of communication. It's you bridging the gap between what you imagine and what a language model can help you build. Whether you're a doctor using GPT to simplify medical literature for patients, or an artist exploring new narrative landscapes, prompting is about asking the right question in the right way. As you continue through this course, you'll learn even more advanced techniques, from prompt chaining to using GPT for iterative tasks. But everything you build on starts with the same foundation: knowing how to design a strong, clear, purposeful prompt. You now have the tools to recognize, evaluate, and improve how you talk to GPT. For now, think about how you can apply these lessons in your daily life. Try experimenting with different prompt formats. Test which phrases get the best results for the kinds of tasks you actually care about. Because at the end of the day, prompt engineering isn't just about better AI. It's about helping you think more clearly, ask better questions, and turn your ideas into action.